So you'll enjoy this. For the last couple weeks, I took a job as a picker in one of the fulfillment warehouses here in Phoenix.
I gotta confess to you, I've always wanted to do that to see what it's like. Tell me, give me the quick lowdown. What was it like? Fantastic.
And you're one of my first sets of interviews.
Awesome.
And to just give you a little bit of background, so what I've been doing over the last couple of weeks is just going through what are all the ways to make money with Amazon. And always, whenever Amazon comes up, I immediately think of you. Always.
Wow.
This is like,
You're too kind. Thank you.
yeah, you should Amazon, and then George Lawrence is like right underneath there. That's their tagline. But I'm exploring all the different ways to make money using Amazon, right? Yep. And so, you have experience, I have experience doing it many different ways. I've brought clients on doing retail. That's how we sold all of the shoes that were out of season at Shoe Thrill.
Yep.
So you'll enjoy this. For the last couple weeks, I took a job as a picker in one of the fulfillment warehouses here in Phoenix.
I gotta confess to you, I've always wanted to do that to see what it's like. Tell me, give me the quick lowdown. What was it like?
It gave me a really huge perspective on like how Amazon, is growing so fast and stuff like that, and how they're crowdsourcing everything.
Yeah.
I get to feel, I know what it's like to be a robot.
Oh, yeah.
So it was the easiest job ever to get, right? You just go online, fill out a survey, right? Answer the questions correctly. They go, okay. And then they call you, to make sure that you can actually speak. And then they say, show up at this particular place at this particular time. And I think that's just to see if you're breathing.
Right. Yes.
And then they give you this card, like, this is your paycheck. You can get access to your first week's pay before you even start, X blah, 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 blah. Right.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And then they're like, show up on this day. So, and then now this is all during the pandemic. So it's a little different, right?
Right.
Everybody's wearing masks. Masks are mandatory.
Yeah.
I think at my facility, they've had 4 confirmed cases of COVID.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Houston, I think, is the worst. If you go on Reddit, there's actually a spreadsheet. They're keeping track of all that stuff.
Oh, right.
But yeah, so 15 minutes of training. You walk in.
Okay.
They're like, you kind of get assigned what your job's going to be as you walk in. And then they take you over, and then they give you a little scanner gun, and then, you're with like 5 or 6 people, and then they walk you through how to use the scanner gun, and then you're off to the races. They give you a little cart.
What I'm dying to know is, I go into a grocery store or whatever, and I can't even find my way around. I don't even know where the dairy aisle is, right? And so, the point is, if you turn me loose in one of those things and said, go find the iPhone cases, I'd be like, how do you find your way around that massive labyrinth?
So, okay, so the place is huge. On an average shift, I walk about 14 miles.
Dang, wow, this is fascinating.
Right, so I'm averaging about 50 miles a week in walking. So I'm keeping track because I got a little Fitbit.
Yeah.
And the place is massive, right? And it's 3 stories. And they have a little addressing system, right? And what's interesting is that everything's set up in bins. Right? So aisles and bins. So you have floors, sections, aisles, bins, right? A is at the bottom, and it'll go all the way up to like J or K is the highest it'll go, top to bottom. And then in a bin is like all kinds of different stuff, right? So it's not like this bin is all Xbox games. No, in the bin might be a bra, toothpaste, an Xbox game, and like a mouse. Right. I mean, just all kinds of weird stuff.
It sounds like all of life's essentials in one bin.
Right. Well, but see, the thing is in the bin, there's usually about 15 to 20 items, all kinds of different stuff. And the majority of the stuff I seem to pull is apparel.
Yeah.
The weirdest thing I pulled was a vibrator.
Right.
So it was a vibrator, then some fuzzy handcuffs, and then like a dog collar. And I'm just like, okay, this is interesting.
Yeah, from time to time, we get requests to help optimize listings in the sexual wellness category, and of course, products are products, so we have no problem with that. But every now and then, you're delving into an aspect of a product that you're just like, wow, I didn't even know this existed. But okay.
Yeah, exactly, and that was the other thing that's cool, is to see all the stuff that's sold.
Yeah.
But basically, all you have to do is, once you know the addressing system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So P1, 2, and 3 is what floor. And then there's like 3 sections. They're divided by these conveyor belts. And you just get a cart, put a bin on the cart, and then you scan it, and then look at the scanner, and the scanner tells you where to go. And there's a thing called Amazon Pace, right? So there's this little countdown bar that's slowly disappearing. And that's the amount of time that you have to get to that item and scan it.
Interesting.
Right.
Wow.
So you're at a clip. You cannot like dilly dally, right?
Right.
They want you to be picking about 80 items an hour.
Wow.
Right. And in that calculation is your downtime as well. So when you're on break and lunch, that's counted against you.
Yeah.
Right. So you really need to be picking around 200 items in between your breaks. So when you're actually on the floor working, you gotta be hustling.
Right.
Now my first couple days, I felt like I had to like freaking run to meet that measure. Now after a couple weeks, once I got the whole thing down as far as where to go, I just automatically know where the bin is and how far down the aisle it's going to be based off of the how things are set up, right? So it's just, I think the speed of picking is really getting to the location as quickly as possible in the least amount of steps, right? So you're not backtracking and go, oh, I went down the wrong aisle and not paying attention, stuff like that.
Does the algorithm, or however the system works, does it at all optimize for you? Does it give it to you in the order that would plan an efficient route?
Well, I haven't figured that part out yet, as far as how it seems like there's definitely a method to the madness for sure. From my perspective, sometimes there's been a couple times where I'm in one corner of the warehouse. It says, go get this item. And it says, close out the tote, which means you got to put it on the conveyor belt. And then it gives you a new item to go. So you only put in one item in one tote.
Right.
And then tells you to go back down to the first floor. You go from the far end of the corner for the third floor, all the way down, picking some like 2 or 3 pairs of shoes on the first floor, and then sending you somewhere back, and you're walking like 20 minutes, and you just pick 3 items.
Right.
And so that gets kind of weird that way. The other thing too is I think that they do segment between shoes and regular items. Your pick rate goes way down when you're picking shoes.
Oh, interesting.
Because you can only fit so many shoes in one tote.
Right.
So it's like back and forth. And then sometimes there's like, you get into an aisle and it's just like boom, 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 boom. You're never leaving the aisle, and next thing you know, you've picked 100 items out of that aisle, putting them into these totes. And then you throw the totes on, and then they just go down the conveyor belt, and then from there they're going to get packed. Every once in a while, I'll get a message from somebody that says the next 9 items are critical. Please pick them and get them on the drop the tote as quickly, close out the tote as quickly as possible. So, and sometimes it seems like the stuff I'm picking is for the same person. Like I told you, like the one with the handcuffs thing.
Yeah.
It was obviously all for the same person, at least from my perspective. But then there's other stuff is just like, if this is one person ordering this stuff, man, they're buying some random stuff.
Right.
But
hey, forgive me for monopolizing your time. And,
no, they're fine.
If you don't mind answering these questions, these are fascinating. But is it a 1-to-1 correspondence? One tote equals one person's order, or do many orders wind up in one tote?
I suspect that many orders end up in one tote, right? Yeah. And so there's like a bulking aspect, because it's up to me when to close out a tote. Well, actually, the system will tell me to close out a tote, or I choose when to close out a tote. And you have to close out a tote when it becomes to the point where you can't stack it.
Right.
So, or I think it gets too heavy. I think there's an aspect of that. It knows relative bulk size of the items and then weight. Because I've kind of picked up on the aspect of like, I've only done a couple items and then I'm not ready to close the tote because I know I can get more stuff in it, right? And the more I can just put in one tote, the better my pick rate is.
Yeah.
Because it takes time to drop the tote, and you can carry 3 totes. Max totes you can carry at any time on your cart is 3, because it takes time to go drop the tote off.
Yeah, sure.
So it does seem to, because sometimes I put heavier stuff in and it'll close out the tote, and I'm like, okay, we're getting close to like 20, 30 pounds in that tote, so I get it. But yeah, I mean, my first day there, I didn't see anybody for hours, and you'll be starting a shift with like 200 people.
Right. Yeah.
And then you'll go a couple hours never seeing anybody. They're just giving you how huge that place is.
Right.
And they're 24/7. And then there's a whole group of, so I'm outbound picking. So they have inbound stowing, right? Mm-hmm. So there's people, and their job is to just put stuff in bins, and your job is to take stuff out of bins.
Yep.
It's fascinating. Have no idea who's in charge. If somebody's coming to talk to me, management's talking to me.
Clearly, the robots.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it's just like I'll be like doing my thing, and I'll start turning around, and they're like, "Hey, Rich," and I'm like, "Whoa, where'd you come from?" And then they're like, "You were 3 minutes late from your last break. You get 20 minutes from scan to scan. So when you get your 2 15-minute breaks, you get 20 minutes from scan to scan. So you could be on the other side of the warehouse, scan your items, time for your break, walk all the way to the break room, and then walk all the way back. You have 20 minutes to get there. So if you're like 2 minutes late, they're like, "Why are you 2 minutes late?"
Right.
Right. But the interesting thing is, it's like they don't call you down, go somewhere. No, they come to you, and they know exactly where you are at any given time.
Right.
Like, so that's kind of like, once you get kind of used to it, you're like, when you see somebody, you're like, okay, so, and they're not pushing a cart, you're like, okay, I'm in trouble, or there's some administrative thing that's going on. So it's interesting.
Weird. Well, give me the bottom line. After having experienced it, someone like me who's curious about it, trying it or whatever, would you say, sure, it's a fun thing to do? Well, why not? You don't like it, you don't have to keep going. Or would you say, no, learn from my mistakes, never try it again, it's awful?
Especially if you want to get in shape, it would be a great way to be incentivized to get in shape. I look at it as kind of like a video game.
Oh, yeah.
Right, because you got the little timer, and just like, how quickly can you be, and you can always look at your performance and stuff like that. So that's fun.
Yep.
But they only pay $15 an hour. Right. And so the biggest thing I have to deal with when I'm doing it, and it's a 10-hour shift, right?
Oh, dang.
Yeah, so 4 10s, right? So it's not like you show up for a couple hours and then you're out. No, you're in for 10 hours.
Right.
So my biggest thing is just like, I know how much my time is valuable, or how much value my time is and stuff like that. So I'm just like, this is the hardest thing for me to be there working for $15 an hour doing that. I just keep reminding myself, well, I'm here to learn. Lose some weight, get in shape, and just have an experience to be able to have like, a good, backstory for sure.
Yeah. Well, and you don't have to tell anybody the details. You can always say, well, back when I was working at Amazon, or as a former employee.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's just, I always kind of imagine what it would look like and be like, but actually seeing it was actually awe-inspiring. And it just and in Phoenix, there's 7 of those warehouses, 7. Yeah. Now, what's interesting is another friend of mine, he started picking in Dallas, same time. And their warehouse is different. So rather than him getting a cart, putting his bins, and then going and putting the totes and going finding the bins, he actually has a picking station, and the bins come to him.
Interesting.
So the bins are, so basically the shelves are all like on these robots, and then the
Right,
robot, it just shuffles around. It reminds me of like a board matrix reconfiguring itself. Is that, it's from the videos I've seen.
Right, sure.
But he's just standing in one position, and then the bin comes up and it tells him which one to pull and stuff like that. So it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, dang it. Well, that's interesting. Thanks for sharing all that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hey, thank you for watching this interview with the Beyond W2 Entrepreneur series. And if you like this content, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, turn on notifications so that you get information about our next upcoming interview. And if you really like this content, really the best thing you can do is share it, and share it with somebody that might benefit from the information. And if you want more information, please go to beyondw2.com and join our community there. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next interview.